We live in a world that rewards noise. Every day, billions of signals are sent out demanding to be looked at, liked, and validated. In this environment, silence can feel like non-existence. If you do not post your achievements, your holidays, or your thoughts, the assumption is often that you are hiding something, or perhaps that you have nothing worth showing. But there is a deeper psychological layer to this silence that is often ignored. It is not necessarily an absence of activity, but a presence of control. While the majority are caught in a loop of performative identity, a select few have opted out of the race entirely. They are not falling behind, they are playing a completely different game. Today, we will deconstruct the 5 psychological pillars that sustain those who choose not to post on social media. By the end of this analysis, you will understand why their silence might be the loudest form of confidence in the digital age. The illusion of passivity. The most common misinterpretation of digital silence is passivity. It is easy to label someone who doesn't post as shy, introverted, or technically inept. These labels are comforting because they frame non-participation as a deficit. It implies they would post if they only had the confidence. However, psychology suggests this behavior is often not an inability to act, but an active decision to withhold. This is rooted in what is known as a high privacy orientation. These individuals, the control over who has access to their inner world, is more valuable than the temporary dopamine hit of social approval. They are not antisocial, they are selectively social. They understand that once a private moment is broadcast, it ceases to be fully theirs. It becomes open to interpretation, judgment, and consumption by others. By keeping it offline, they maintain complete ownership of the experience. It is a protective measure for their mental space, ensuring their life remains theirs, not content for others to scroll past. But if it is not shyness holding them back, what is the internal mechanism that allows them to resist the urge to share? Internal locus of evaluation. To understand this resistance, we must look at where a person draws their value from. Most active social media users operate on an external locus of evaluation. Their sense of worth fluctuates based on the feedback loop of the platform. A post with high engagement confirms their relevance. Silence from the audience can trigger anxiety. The quiet ones, however, operate with an internal locus of evaluation. They have developed a robust mechanism for self-validation. They do not need the digital echo to confirm that their experiences are real or that their achievements are valid. This is often linked to a psychological trait called self-concept clarity. When you have a clear, stable, and consistent sense of who you are, the need to constantly audit your identity for public approval diminishes. They know their values, their goals, and their worth without needing to externalize them for a quality check by strangers. Their happiness does not depend on reaction, it comes from alignment. Yet maintaining this internal clarity is difficult when modern platforms are specifically engineered to erode it. How do they protect the value of their own experiences in such a noisy world? Psychological ownership and the dilution effect. There is a concept in psychology known as psychological ownership. It is the feeling that something, a thought, a memory, an achievement, belongs deeply and exclusively to you. When you experience something profound, it has a certain purity. The moment you decide to post it, a subtle shift occurs. You begin to view the experience, not through your own eyes, but through the imagined eyes of your audience. You start thinking about captions, angles, and potential reactions. This process is called identity crafting, and it inherently dilutes the psychological ownership of the original moment. It transforms a lived experience into a performative asset. Those who do not post often intuitively understand this dilution effect. They realize that some moments are too valuable to be traded for likes. They choose to keep the memory intact, raw, and untarnished by public consumption. This is not hoarding. It is a form of preservation. It allows them to stay fully present in their own lives, rather than constantly stepping outside of themselves to document it. This is a crucial step in a path to knowing yourself better and finally living well. But is this preservation just a preference, or does it require a deeper, more difficult form of mental discipline? The discipline of apatheia. We must not assume that those who do not post never feel the urge to. They are human and subject to the same psychological pressures as everyone else. They too feel the pull of validation when they achieve something great. The difference lies in their response to that urge. This connects to the ancient Stoic concept of apatheia. This is not apathy in the modern sense of not caring. It is the state of being free from suffering brought on by destructive passions and automatic emotional reactions. The compulsion to post is often just that, an automatic reaction trained by years of dopamine loops designed by platform engineers. Resisting this requires genuine psychological discipline. It is the ability to feel the impulse to share, pause, and consciously decide that the validation is not needed. This is a mastery of impulse that most people never develop. It is a quiet rebellion against the conditioned reflex to display. By constantly exercising this restraint, they build a form of inner fortitude that makes them less susceptible to external manipulation. They have learned that the most powerful response to a world begging for your attention is sometimes simply to withhold it. This discipline leads to the final, and perhaps most important, psychological state: identity security versus performative identity. Ultimately, the choice not to post is a reflection of identity security. We live in an era of performative identity, where who you are online is often a curated, idealized avatar that may bear little resemblance to your daily reality. Maintaining this avatar is exhausting. It requires constant feeding with new content, new updates, and new proof of life. The psychological weight of this gap between the curated self and the real self is a major source of modern anxiety. People who do not post have closed this gap. They have achieved what psychologists call congruence. Their identity is the same whether anyone is watching or not. They do not feel the need to perform their existence because they are too busy inhabiting it. Their confidence is not loud. It does not need to be announced. It is a calm assurance that they exist beyond perception. They understand that true relevance is not found in the feed, but in the reality of their direct experience. They have chosen substance over show, and in a world obsessed with the latter, choosing substance is a radical act. We have looked at the 5 pillars: the rejection of passivity, the internal locus of evaluation, the preservation of psychological ownership, the Stoic discipline of resistance, and finally, true identity security. It becomes clear that this silence is not an empty space. It is a space filled with intention, discipline, and a strong sense of self. It is a reminder that you do not need to be seen by the many to be understood by yourself. Following this principle is a path to knowing yourself better and finally living well. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all.